Amends is restitution for harm done. It's the 9th step out of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Talking about amends is like talking about the last 10 minutes of a movie. So I got to pull it out of midair if I talk only about amends, which I really can't do that. So what I'm going to do is explain to you how the process starts. And of course I've determined that I am powerless, not only over alcohol, but I'm all the way powerless over even having a relationship with God. So I come in broken. I've made a decision that I'm going to do whatever it takes to grasp a hold of God and not let go. And once making that decision, I'm instructed to do an inventory process, which starts out with things that have, offenses that have been caused to me supposedly. But in this inventory process, I realize my part. And through realizing my part in this inventory process, I come to find out, like after I've admitted these things to myself, to God, and to another individual, that there's amends that need to be made. So from that point, I've realized the exact nature of my wrongs and exactly what I've done to these people. So no longer do I just come up and say sorry, and then come back and throw another rock through their window and say I'm sorry, and come back and throw another rock through their window and say I'm sorry. I know the exact nature of my wrongs. I've admitted them to God, another person, and now I am able to make a true amends for exactly what I did wrong through selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, frightened behavior.
What did you do that you think is wrong, and what did you do to make amends?
Okay, I wanted to lay some groundwork first, but example, one amends, when I was out there drinking and using, my family would look at me like...
using what, like cookies?
Yeah, cookies, man, I was strung out. Speed, mostly. The last run I had was 10 years, and it was on methamphetamine. And anyway, I didn't just use, I sold, and I was making a living, and I was in that culture. And my family looked at me, and they saw the hole inside my heart, and I looked at them like they were judging me. And so I literally disowned them and hadn't talked to them in 3 years. And I caught a 2-year prison term, and all of a sudden, and I don't call them because I disowned them, right? Well, they do 14-hour trips to give me weekend visits. They send me quarterly packages. They pick me up from prison when I get out, and there was no judgment on their part. They just loved me. So of course, going through the amends process, I made a formal amends, which is I have a 9th step letter that I use that you just fill in the template, and it keeps you from any form of rationalization or justification on my part. So I made the amends, and they were kind of awkward, and everybody of course said they forgave me, no big deal, you know. And so that is one form of formal, what I call a formal amends. But my real amends to them, which as I was considering this interview, come to find out that I've benefited greatly from it, is that I would never ever disown them again. I would never done them again, no matter what happened. We fast forward, my mother dies, and families get crazy at these times, and people they just do crazy stuff. And I wanted to run, but I remembered my living amends, that I had to stay, and I couldn't stay. I had to. It took the power. It took the grace and power of Jesus Christ in order for me to do what I needed to do in this season. But I stayed, and I didn't disown them again. And we moved through that, and we have family, and we love each other. You know, another instance, I'm in construction. I'm a general contractor. And my brother-in-law is a superintendent for a company, and he talks me into doing work for him. I didn't want to do work for him because I know the money's going to be funny. I know I'm going to go through all these things. It's a nationwide company. That's what nationwide companies do. And he absolutely, no, it's not going to be like that. And he did some weird stuff and misled me in certain areas. And typically my nature, it's like, I'm done, I'm hot, I'm mad, right? But I have this amends that I'm making, and he's married to my sister. Well, my brother, knowing how I am, my personality-wise, he calls me and he says, yeah, my brother-in-law's name is Dale, and he says, I was talking to Dale, and I was just kind of concerned about what's going on there. And I said, no, brother, you don't have nothing to be concerned about. It's family before money. Things are a little weird. I explained to him what happened, but because of my amends, my living amends, I can't get mad at him. I can't dun him. I can't turn my back on him. I have to stay in community with him. So the cool part of this is I learned how to act like normal people and come to positive results because of a commitment I made to my own sobriety. Because ultimately, the amends process keeps me in relationship with Christ. Not that he goes anywhere, but I do. If I get angry or if I'm in unforgiveness, those things block me from the sunlight of the Spirit, and I've done it to myself, right? So the amends process that I'm thinking that I'm doing for other people ends up being for me, totally for me. So in that aspect, I'm most grateful that through recovery, I've learned that I need to live by standards outside myself. Because don't you know, my brother-in-law did me wrong. And I deserve that revenge. I deserve to, I'm right, he's wrong. And that's not the hill I want to die on today. I don't want to die being right, even if I am right. Most importantly, I want a relationship with God that allows me to have a fourth dimension experience, which is happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life. And I don't get these things by doing things the way I think. I get these things by living by a standard outside myself. Well, we have that in 12-step recovery, but then I realize that's what I'm supposed to do as a Christian. If I live by my standards, my little meager standards, I can never have what God so desperately wants me to have, which is that peace and that serenity. So I've learned that as a Christian, or because I had a problem drinking and using drugs, doesn't matter, that I need to adopt the standard outside myself, and that's what I base my decisions on. And the amends process is that block in recovery that starts with an inventory process, seeing my wrongs, and because I have to see them clearly before I know how to make an amends. So it's no longer where I've offended somebody and I say sorry, or I have an argument and sorry. I go through a process to see what my part is, so I know what I am making restitution for. The living amends are, to me, the things that have kept me on the straight and narrow. Formal letters are cool that end up basically you move on, but you've cleaned your side of the street. The living amends is what keeps me in the sweet spot of my life with Christ.